the federal police about it?
Well, under the new terrorist laws, what the definition of recklessly supporting a terrorist organisation has been raised, and the police came to, after a very misleading article in the Australian where it was alleged that I was supporting the LTT as an organisation, which I have not done. I was questioned on my activities, and I do not apologise for them. I taught these people how to resuscitate and teach sick children, and that is a paediatrician's duty.
Do you feel under any continuing pressure at all because you've been associated with the LTTE?
No, I don't. I think that people understand that position. But let's take this a little bit further. I mean, the definition of terrorist, I have never denied that there is evidence that the LTTE has used terror. I've never denied that, and I have never said that this was an acceptable thing. What I have said in a number of articles and interviews over these last couple of years is that it must be seen in the context of the state terror which has been and is being inflicted by the government in Colombo. All we hear about from the media, and I don't know why that's so, is of the activities of the LTT. We do not hear of the bombing of schools. One of the schools near where I worked, and it was known to be a school. 65 girls or thereabouts were killed a year or two back. The deaf and blind school where I did work and for which I raised money here, and we bought solar heating, several of those deaf and blind children have been killed. The hospital near there, this unpronounceable name, Puti Kiparupu or something, my Tamil is rather weak, that's been bombed 5 times, and most of the patients were killed in the last bombing. And this is a place everyone knows is a hospital. It's got red crosses on the roof, or it did have, and it was flattened. Now, and yet we don't hear of these things. And I have accused, and I do accuse, the government in Colombo of using outrageous use of terror and activities against civilians. And therefore, what is terrorism? And it caused me to ask this question, but what I do under those circumstances. And I asked the doctors that I had contact with, well, why did you join the LTT? Why did you join this? And they, almost to a man and a woman, half of them were women, they said, well, the LTT was the only organisation that was actually doing something. Others were talking, but the LTT was putting up an armed resistance. And what did you want? I asked. Well, what are your aims? And they wanted autonomy for the Tamil people, and at least protection, at very least protection against the depredations of the government. Now, we in Australia, in the past, have thought quite highly of certain organisations who have been doing that, such as the African National Congress, which we in those days called National Liberation Movement. I, frankly, see very little difference between, and the ANC did terrible things. I mean, they burned people alive and bombed people, which was not good, but I don't see any difference in reality between the ANC, for example, or if you want to take the analogy even further, the Viet Cong, who were struggling for national independence or liberation. I think it gives a better understanding of the motivation of the Tamils when you talk of it as a national liberation movement, and just don't dismiss it as a terrorist organisation. Though let me say one more time, they have used terror.